somebody just told me yesterday that the linguistics professor at UT said that people in natives from Tennessee have a unique accent and words that they use that is very similar to Old England, proper English. So it is this, but I think that's mixed in with farming people. And farming people, it's not diverse. It's all, white families and a few African-American families that farmed alongside of us. And we all sound alike. And I realized when I went to, I go on a field trip with my kids that some of the words my people have always used are words from like South Carolina, from Charleston, Savannah, down in there. And then people always get it mixed up and they go, are you from Mississippi? Are you from Georgia, South Carolina? But it's just this little pocket, I think, from Middle Tennessee that's rural talk mixed with, people that have come there to farm, I guess, from generations back. You won't believe, Sid, how many people online have been they don't mean to be mean, but they're like, there's no way, this is fake. I can't even listen to it. And I'm like, did they really think that I've got the strength to fake this? And why would if I were going to fake something, it would be probably sexier. I'll just tell you. But I had years ago when I went to the University of Tennessee, there were girls, from Chattanooga and Memphis that went to private school, and they all wanted to be friends with me, and I loved them, and they were very, hoop-de-doo people. But they enjoyed me and my accent and my colloquialisms. Mm-hmm. I know. And I always thought of y'all in Memphis as, I don't know, just like people with nice china. And I always thought, that's where the hoop-de-doo people came from. Y'all just always had, pretty manners and nice china. I think my mama, Lucille, her mama, Mary, was as round as she was short, wide as she was short, funny. Everybody loved her. She was she could be a lot. And, we were also all scared of her. But she was, she was very competitive and would, fight people in cards. If she played cards at the senior citizens, she'd get in a fight. But funny. And then my mom's got that from her. I think I got that from her. Then my daddy really is a good storyteller. He can tell a good story with good details, but we all use humor all the time. My sister thinks she's not funny and says, I didn't get any talent. But she did. She's got a good sense of humor. And then I married Chuck Morgan, who takes everything serious and does not want me to make a joke out of everything and says that I'm not serious enough. But then I had 3 precious children that are funny and fun. Uh-huh. Well, I had that dream in my heart from the time I was little. And then I've said this before in interviews, and I think it's true. I think, you go through life and your dreams seem further away, and people don't mean that you're around, but they go, well, you need to go to college, and you need to be this, you need to be a teacher, or you need to be a secretary, or you need to do, when you get to thinking, well, that's what I need to be doing. I don't need to, maybe I'm wrong for wanting to do this dream. And so I just went the traditional route and went to college, and I'm glad I did, but finished and then married Chuck Morgan. He moved me to Bean Station, Tennessee, in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. And the whole time, I knew I wanted to be a mama. I wanted to be married and have a bunch of kids. And I wish I'd had more kids than I did. But I wanted a bunch of children. And then always thinking, though, I'm going to be a stand-up. Before Chuck and I married, we went out to see my sister in California, and I got to go to the Comedy Store in L.A. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, while we're out here, I want to go on the Hearse tour where you can see where dead people were murdered in L.A. And he goes, well, that's the most twisted thing I've ever heard in my life. I had a ball. If you ever get to go see it, you ride in a hearse and they show you where horrible things have happened. Like little Sal Mineo, was stabbed in a alley. Okay. And see, I loved old Hollywood. And then I said, I want to go to the Comedy Store. And I walked in there and sat and watched Don Marrera and all these people, and my heart beat out of my body. And I truly had a physical reaction thinking, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what it is. Because I'd never been to a comedy club. And I didn't know, I knew, I thought I could make people laugh. And then I don't know, I just saw what they did. And I thought, this is it. And I would watch Johnny Carson. And, when somebody was making it big on Johnny Carson, I always watched that. And I thought, okay, this is it. This is how I could do it. And then we go to Bean Station. I told Chuck Morgan, I said, I want to stay home with these babies. And I promise I won't get my hair done. I won't buy anything to go on the wall. Just please let me stay home. And then I like a side hustle. And so because I do like to get my hair highlighted, So then my girlfriend said, I'm selling this jewelry like Mary Kay, like women sell Mary Kay or Tupperware. And why don't you try this? It'll give you a little money. You can, meet people and get your hair highlighted. And I started selling that jewelry in women's houses. It was like my own little comedy club. And it really and truly, every night I would start getting my shtick. I had material. And I was supposed to be talking about jewelry and how to put a clip earring on a shoe and on a pump and change the look. And I had this whole presentation they wanted me to say, and I didn't say any of it. I would talk about, birthing and breastfeeding and hemorrhoids and all that. And the company noticed that I was booking about a year in advance. But that's when I knew, like, I could do this. I know I can do this. And they asked me to go speak at one of their big regional things at Opryland Hotel. And there was a professional comedian there that was entertainment for one of those big, Rahoo things where you go and get excited about your business. And they asked me to speak about how to get booked, how to book these parties. And he said to me afterwards, Leanne, you could be a stand-up. You could do this. And that meant the world to me. I never met a stand-up, didn't know anybody in stand-up. And so when Chuck and I moved to Texas, I found a comedy club and I did open mic one time and they moved me up to opener. When you say tequila is 2 for $1 tonight, I started out there and then I, moved my way up and got started in comedy then. So it's been over 20 something years, that I've been doing it. It's crazy. I think so, Sid. And I think that the reason why this happened to me in my 50s for it to really take off is that, I've been through perimenopause and menopause. Once a woman goes through that, it's almost like, I don't care. I don't care. And I've always talked about my children and my personal life. I've always been very open. My sister would say too open, but I've always been honest about everything. And all my material's always been about birthing and then, elementary school, middle school, all my marriage, all of that. But I think that's why people are responding to me is that I'm authentic. I got to give you that. I can't do math. I got a lot of flaws, Sid, but I'm authentic. This is who I am. And they know that. I think they trust me and they know that. And I think people are interested in real people and real stories. Let me tell you, Sid, middle school was a dry time for me. Nobody wanted me to speak their name. I had to do old material. They all said to me, don't you dare say a word. Because my boy caught me talking about his puberty on local radio in Knoxville on WIVK. And I had dropped him off at school. And I really didn't think anything of it. I was just saying like he had grown hair under this arm, but not this. I don't know what I said. He sounded like Johnny Cash. And one of his friends was having an orthodontist appointment. And he heard it in his mama's car and went back to school and said, you won't believe what your mama said. And Charlie said, don't you ever. And I said, I won't. I promise. And Maggie, I remember she didn't even want me to come to school. They were so embarrassed, about everything. And their hormones were crazy. And I remember her saying to me, what are you doing here in those yoga pants? So I wasn't even allowed to walk around school in a yoga pant, which I'm sure I looked terrible in them saying. But anyway, middle school was a very dry time. And then high school, they were like, we don't care what you say. And then college, they're like, we don't care. And now they're like, you do what you do, you girl, we don't care. Now,